Good morning, everybody. Got a hell of a show for you. It's going to be really good. We've got Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation talking about the Project 2025. It is insane. And then, as promised, we're going to do a deep dive on the Middle East and what's going on. There are big changes happening in the Middle East. And to really understand what's going on, we've got to just break it down and talk about it. So let's get into it. Whew. Had to run and grab a refill real quick. Didn't realize I was out of I had a coffee. I hope your coffee is as good as mine this morning. It is making it happen. I got like 2 hours sleep last night. I'm running on pure coffee. Yeah, there is a show on the weekends. Simone Sanders Townsend on MSNBC does a show. It's 8 a.m. Eastern time. It's called The Weekend. She does it with Michael Steele, who is a Republican, and Alicia Mendez. It is actually a really good show. It is. And we're going to borrow some of it today. We want to talk about the 2025 project. And they had the president of the Heritage Foundation on and just let him speak. And it was really good. It was, I recommend that you go, if you don't follow MSNBC on social media, they have this clip show. Just do a search for The Weekend with Simone Sanders Townsend, and there's you can do the full clip. We're not going to do the full clip because, well, it's like 13 minutes long. So, but there are portions of it that I really want you to take a look at in relation to the 2025 project. So let's just dive right into it. But before we do, there is something I need to frame this. There are a couple statements out there that I repeat that are just true. Like Voltaire's statement: if you can get a man to believe absurdities, you can get him to commit atrocities. That is true. You need to keep that in mind when you hear the absurdities you're about to hear. There's another statement. I as somebody who loves history, I tend to despise Hollywood. I do, because so many people get their view of history from movies and television, and it is always wrong. Always wrong. Newest Bill, I trust you had a moment to actually rest on your time off. Actually, I didn't, but that's okay. Discussion for another time, Newest Bill. Discussion for another time. I appreciate you, my friend. I do. Sherry Foster, thanks for the support. I appreciate you kicking off the show, getting us out the door, paying the bills, baby. Thank you. But look, there was a movie around 2000 called Gladiator. If you haven't watched it, it's probably one of the best Russell Crowe movies out there. It really is. Master and Commander and Gladiator are my two favorite Russell Crowe movies. There was a scene in that movie with one of the main characters is a Roman senator by the name of Gracchus. And Gracchus is telling another character about the evil character, Commodus, basically not to misunderstand him. And he makes this statement. Let me pull it up for you so you can see it as I read it to you. Says, speaking about Commodus, the evil character, the emperor, I think he knows what Rome is. Rome is the mob. He will conjure magic for them and they will be distracted. He will take away their freedom and they will still roar. The beating heart of Rome is not the marble floor of the Senate. It is the sand of the Colosseum. He will give them death and they will love him for it. I don't like Hollywood because they're so inaccurate, but they get platitudes right. They do. They get platitudes right. And what Gracchus was saying here is true. It is true of every government. It is. Every nation on earth. The people do not have time to rule themselves. They don't. I talk about your bandwidth and political strategies like filling the space, filling the air with crap to distract you because you only have so much time to take in information. And you are the politically involved. You are the informed people. The majority of people are not. They're just not. They know nothing of our government at all. Most of them don't even understand how it functions. So what the right wing became very, very good at was shiny objects. Their attacks on transgender people. Imagine being somebody that does not pay attention to government at all. You're clueless. You're clueless. Philip Alapour's here, man. Follow Philip on X. I don't know if you got a Threads account also, but he's one of the people I follow. Good follow, good information. He's my Canadian friend. Thank you. Canada just announced IRGC, a terrorist group. That's the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, a terrorist group. I share my Twitter account due to their attacks at my workplace. I'm in a small account. Hey, it's a rough subject. Don't worry about it. We're going to do this. Jimmy, thanks for the support, my friend. Okay. I just wanted to frame our discussion we're about to have that way. I want you to be aware of people and how they react and what they do, because like I said, folks, most people out there, they see something like, the Republicans are really good at going and getting a shiny object, like the whole attack on transgender people. Imagine that you have no involvement in government whatsoever, but all of a sudden you have Republicans screaming at you that Democrats are forcing, you've heard all the terrible things they say. You've heard all the terrible, we're mutilating children and all of this stuff. That is your inclusion into government. That is what Gracchus was talking about with Commodus. He understands the mob. Say outrageous things. It doesn't matter that what they're talking about is inaccurate. It doesn't matter that what they're talking about is, not to diminish it, but a small issue based on, they're talking about transgender issues while Republicans are taking their children's schools away. That distraction is real. And it's a real strategy. I want you to have that in mind as we talk about our subjects today. So let's dig in. We've got Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation, who's responsible for Project 2025, on with Simone Sanders Townsend and Michael Steele, and they did a great job. Let me let you hear what he had to say in his own words.
Is about institutionalizing Trumpism. So, because I also know you all, not just the president of the Heritage Foundation, you're also president of the Heritage Action, which is the political action committee. And so, is it tied to Trump or not?
I said the context for that comment to the New York Times was that the work of the Heritage Foundation was to institutionalize Trumpism. Trumpism as a new version of conservatism, conservatism that recognizes that.
Okay. He's telling you out of his own mouth. Their goal with Project 2025 is to institutionalize Trumpism. That is to make Trump an emperor. They're telling you. They're telling you. Everything that is Trump, they are going to institutionalize that. They're going to force that into our governmental institutions. Believe me, that is not the craziest thing he says. It is just not. Hmm. Oh, this is a great clip too. You've got to play. Give me just a moment. Let's see if we can get this to play. All right, we're going to have to do it manually. Hold on. No, the audio is not gone. It's just not playing. All right, let's see if we can get it to happen. You know what? This is too important. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close these because they don't want to play. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to reopen it. And we're going to do each one manually. That's why I wrote the timestamps down. You'll have to bear with me. This is going to take a second, but it's just very important. It is him in his own words. Just bear with me. Stay with me. This will only take a second. All right. Bear with me. All right. We're cooking with Crisco now. We are good. All right. We're going to have to do it manually by each timestamp, but that's okay. I don't care. We'll do it that way.
Can't really do anything until you remove what has been identified as the problem, and that is 50,000 federal employees. Axios noted, quote, the massive headhunting quest aims to recruit 20,000 people to serve in the next administration as a down payment on 4,000 presidential appointments plus potential replacements for as many as 50,000 federal workers who are policy adjacent, as Trumpers put it. Policy adjacent to what? I mean, you're talking about people who've been in federal government. My daddy was a federal government employee, so I would be really appalled thinking that he could be on someone's chopping block because they think he is part of some deep state effort. Talk to us about what that looks like. If Heritage is calling for removing 50,000 federal employees, who are you replacing them with? And where do they come from? I mean, even if it's not 50,000, if it's 10,000, if it's 2,000, where are they coming from, and who are you replacing them with? Because I suspect a lot of those people you're talking about have been in the federal service for a long time and have served not just Republican administrations, but also Democratic administrations, et cetera.
They have, and 95% of them who give political contributions give them to the Democratic Party. I reject out of hand, Michael, that somehow
you're going to fire someone because they wrote a check to a Democratic candidate.
No, we're going to fire someone, and the number needs to be more than 50,000, considering that there are more than 2 million federal employees. Because over the last century, the radical left has seen.
All right, there you go. Right out of his own mouth, he is telling you what they intend to do. First of all, that number is wrong. 95% of government employees are not donating to Democrats. That's just a fallacy. It's just a lie. But you get what he is saying. If you are a Democrat, they are going to fire you for being a Democrat. They're going to take you out of your job as a civil servant because you are a Democrat, and they think that that is wrong. They think that is wrong. They are telling you out of their mouths the fascism they intend to put forward. There are a lot of Democrats within the government. There are. When you work for the government, you tend to realize that the government isn't evil, that you are just going to work and doing a job that needs to be done, and you don't tend to hate government. So yeah, a lot of people that work within the government tend to ideologically follow along with the Democratic Party, which in and of itself doesn't hate the government. They don't hate themselves. They don't. Republicans, on the other hand, very much do. They very much do. Sharon Reddy, there cannot be a radical conservative. Extremism contradicts the definition of conservatism. The conservatives are pulling away. I wish that were true. I wish that were true, Sharon. But like I said in the beginning, people, a huge number of people just are not involved. And they get told these things. Hey, let's continue on with what he's talking about and what he says. Let's move to the next timestamp. All right, here we go. Thank you for being patient. This is important to hear it in their own words.
That's misaligned. For example, the U.S. Department of Education. Thankfully, President Trump deserves credit for saying that he wants to end the Department of Education. That means that employees in that agency, even if they've been serving that mission with great competence, will have to go look for another job. What's more important than that, Michael, is that we actually have a delivery mechanism for education in this country that reflects the 21st century. So at Heritage, we see this a very different way. You want to look at it from the lens of unelected bureaucrats, most of whom, not your dad, I guess, who want to say that they are more important than the everyday American. We want to look at it from the standpoint of the everyday American and say it's time that they are put in the driver's seat rather than unelected bureaucrats.
Yeah, but they aren't going to be in the driver's seat because they aren't going to be doing the jobs. The folks you're identifying who are Trump aligned are the ones who are going to be coming in.
You are positing that those people are.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, the idea of letting the layperson that does not pay attention, that is not professionally an educator, run our education systems is idiotic. We saw what happened when the layperson got involved with COVID, how stupid the ideas became that, don't wear masks and don't get vaccinated, and that no, your average person does not need to be running our education system. We need professional educators. And they are telling you they want to eliminate the Department of Education, just eliminate it wholesale. Why? Because it kicks money down to their billionaire backers. It puts them in charge of your schools. And these billionaires, they don't need critical thinkers. They don't. They need people that can install a steering wheel and not think about it. Just do one job. I don't need you to be a critical thinker. I don't need you to know things. That's the way they look at things. We Democrats look at it like, look, give everybody the chance to be the best version of themselves, and society will be better off for it. Republicans like this look at it like, give me worker drones. Give me worker drones. Kim H. Also a way to get rid of minorities in government. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is a huge portion of it. Absolutely. Great point. All right, let's move to the next timestamp, because the things that comes out of his mouth are just, and nothing does it better than just letting them say it themselves. All right, here we go.
Actually, Dr. Roberts, have a question about this upcoming election. Is your organization going to accept the results of the 2024 presidential election?
I believe that Dr. Roberts can't hear. So Alicia just asked, is your organization going to accept the results of the 2024 election, regardless of the outcome?
Yes, if there isn't massive fraud like there was in 2020.
What does that mean?
If there isn't massive fraud.
Do you believe that there was not massive fraud?
There was massive fraud. We have an election fraud database that has documented that over years. By the way, the Heritage Foundation has been concerned about election integrity for decades, not just about 2020. We've been documenting this problem for a very long time. And if one of the
I believe, according to the Heritage Foundation, sir, there, by your count, Heritage Foundation has done an investigation, and according to your count, there have been 1,513 proven instances of voter fraud across the United States since 1982.
Yeah, that's probably
1,513.
Because they're very hard to document. And the Democrat Party is very good at fraud. The key thing here, which I think we would both agree on, is that we aspire at the Heritage Foundation to seeing a poll after this election where every American believes their vote was counted. I care as deeply about someone on the political left with whom.
No, they don't. No, they don't. She did a great job there. She did a great job. She took his own numbers. And what does he do? He just throws this unprovable, undebatable thing about there's magic fraud. Folks, they have billionaires funding them. They have all the resources in the world. If there was fraud, they would find it. They could prove it. And they would get no resistance from us because we support democracy. I mean, did you just hear the man? They're not going to accept the next election. They are not. Because they've just got this magic fraud that apparently we Democrats are so good at that no one with unlimited resources can find or catch us. We just, the tens and thousands and millions of Democrats out there, we're so good at it. Nobody ever tells. Nobody tells the secret. Yeah. Yeah, Schrodinger's fraud. There you go. That is, I love you folks. I really do. Schrodinger's fraud. That is good. That is good. That is good. Anyways, let's move to the next time step because I really want you to hear what this man has to say himself. Thanks for hanging out with me, folks. I know we had some technical difficulties. That was not my end. That was their website.
She is asking about immigration and how you see immigration, how in this plan, how you talk about using like the National Guard to deport individuals. Like what is the, Alicia, and do tell me if I am adequately
people on the interior
summarizing.
specifically.
People on the interior specifically, not people in the border, people within this country.
Well, first of all, we need to close the border. And secondly, we need to have the biggest mass deportation system ever in the history of America because it is unjust. And
okay. Let me stop you right there. We're going to continue on with this, but let me stop that right there. No, we do not need to close the border. We are a nation. Nations have immigration. China has immigration, for Christ's sake. No, we do not need to close the borders. That is a bigoted, fear-mongering statement for terrified people who have believed the delusional crap that this man has said. No, we do not need to close our borders. We are a nation, for Christ's sake.
And illegal and evil that more than 10 million illegal aliens have come to this country. It's imperative that we send those people back, invite them back to come through the legal system. We love immigrants at Heritage, but we also love the rule of law.
No, they don't.
So how do you plan to carry that out?
No, they don't. No, they don't. They have opposed every attempt to fix our immigration system. Every attempt to fix our immigration system that allows people to come here legally, they oppose. They will not work with Democrats to clear the backlogs, to improve our courts. None of it. That was just a lie, a flat out lie.
Well,
Are you talking about going door to door? Because that's what I could read from the plan, but I think
the first thing is that there's going to be a lot of self-deportation. The interesting thing, as you no doubt know, is that simply talking about this and beginning to implement a plan, and President Trump deserves a lot of credit for talking about this, causes people to say, I don't want to run the risk of being arrested for doing something illegal.
What he is talking about is when they get into power, they are going to be brutal. They are going to do such horrific things that they're going to terrorize people out of the country. That's what he means when he says, oh, they'll self-deport. Do you remember they took people's children away and lost them? Just kept them. Put children in cages. He absolutely intends to do sick, horrific things to 10, 11 million people living in this country. Treat them so brutally that they flee. That is what he just told you. That is what he just told you. They will not work with us to fix the immigration issue. They will not. They're just, thanks for the support, Francis. I really appreciate you. When I say you folks allow me to do this full time, I mean it. You're literally allowing me to do this. Thank you. I really appreciate you. But let's let him finish that thought.
Legal. But secondly, there are great plans using the Department of Homeland Security to return these people back to south of the border. The great thing is, even a majority of people on the political left.
South of the border. Sounds like he's just speaking about one type of person. I mean, it's like they've got a target.
Agree with this because they see the damage that this has done.
Well, before we go,
I think we want to take a couple more minutes.
yeah,
and so I
I'm
know
just
we're being
gonna
told to
ask you
wrap, but we
real
want to take a few more minutes.
I'll stay as long as you want.
No. Just ask you real quick. So what do these people do? What are they doing now?
Which people?
The folks, the 11 million, 20 million, whatever you want to deport.
A lot of them are committing crimes like murdering the 12-year-old girl in Houston. In fact,
So that's one. That's one out of 11 million. What is the?
We
what
can
is
take
the
the remaining time of the segment, and I can give you a lot
In
of examples.
Texas, undocumented immigrants were 37.1% less likely to be convicted of a crime. Undocumented immigrants, and according to a survey, University of California Riverside study, 33% less likely to be in prison as of 2021.
Young lady killed in
I'm just
Georgia.
giving the numbers.
Well, what do you tell the parents of those people, those young girls who were killed?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. They're trying to utilize the mob. They say things like that. There are 11 million people living in this country. He just called them, the majority of them, criminals, which is just untrue. It is literally the opposite of reality. Violent crime has plummeted. Whenever you have a good economy, like you do under Democrats, crime falls. It just does. Oftentimes coming out of Republican administrations into a Democratic administration, it rises and then it plummets. It always does, because we have great economies under Democrats. When there's great economies, there's just lower crime, and that is exactly what we have right now. Is violent crime has fallen to the lowest point in over 50 years. That is true. And add on top of that, that immigrants commit violent crimes at far lower rates than the bigots that support this guy. They are not 11 million people coming here committing crimes. They are not. Michael Steele asked a great question there, but didn't follow up on it. Make them tell you, what do these people do that you want to deport? What do they do? They work. They keep our society functioning. They're caregivers. They work in our agricultural industry. They work in our restaurants. They work in our construction. You've got Florida that has a huge problem. They have houses that have not been rebuilt since Hurricane Ian because their draconian laws drove immigrants out of the state. You still have houses with blue tarps on the roofs. The housing market is crashing in Florida because of the glut of these houses. The devil of Dallas, what do you tell the parents? Exactly. You're having a discussion that is the shiny object. And that's all Fox does. I follow Fox on social media. All they do is one immigrant crime after another immigrant crime after another immigrant crime to get these bigots to believe that is all immigrants do. And it's just not true. It is just not true. Let's get back to it. Got one more clip I want to show you from him.
Assertion. What Joe Biden is doing is weaponizing the entire government.
Before we let you
against
go,
every
Dr. Roberts, I do want to ask you about abortion because
Awesome.
it is a issue that is at the top of mind for folks all over this country right now, waiting on a case from the Supreme Court, EMTALA. In Louisiana, in places all over this country, abortion care is unavailable to people that may need it. You and the organization in this plan talks about changing the Department of Health and Human Services to the Department of Life. Do you think that women in America should be able to get an abortion if that is what their doctor?
The Department of Health and Human Services is another department they intend to gut. They intend to gut it. They're going to get rid of it, just like the Department of Education
says they need.
Abortion's not health care. I find it really interesting, if not worse, that you wouldn't support the change of.
Did you hear what that man said? A DNC or a D&E is not healthcare. He is insane. That is my personal read on Kevin Roberts. Let's finish it, and I will go on my diatribe at the end.
Change of the department name to the Department of Life. I thought we were all in support of life. We believe eminently in women's rights, and particularly women's rights in the womb. And so the real question that you should be asking.
I just want to know, if I may, though, because I do ask the question
talking
here.
About the people
I just want to know, do you believe
legislation that abortion can happen until 3 days after the person's born? This is an absurd framing by this.
What? What did he just say? Let me back that up.
We believe eminently in women's rights, and particularly women's rights in the womb. And so the real question that you should be asking
I just want to know, if I may though, because I do ask the
we
questions
talking
here. So
about the people
I just
who
want to
are
know, do you
supporting
believe
legislation that abortion can happen until 3 days after the person's born? This is an absurd framing by this network.
that is an absurd assertion? As a person with an actual womb, I'm telling you that does not happen.
So
But let me just back up.
legislators in California.
Really? Yeah, I love that Simone Sanders Townsend called him out on that. They did an amazing job on this. She did an amazing job. Just flat out, that is absurd. What you just said is absurd.
Do you
Virginia, New
all,
York, who
Dr.
actually
Roberts,
filed this bill.
does Heritage and Project 2025 believe that a woman should be able to have an abortion if her doctor says that she needs one? It's a yes or no question.
Abortion is not healthcare.
So
Abortion
that is
is
a
the
no?
murder of a human being.
There you go. This is Project 2025. It comes from him. They have just told you. Government's full of Democrats. We got to get rid of them. You know, a lot of people wrap my knuckles after the Robert Byrd disaster when I said, look, this is not uncommon. This is happening over and over and over again. Republicans do not have the character or the morals to be in the Department of Justice because they abuse it every time. We need to get rid of these partisan Republicans. And you folks wrapped my knuckles saying, you can't do that. Folks, I am not a high road guy. I'm not. Their political plan that is funded to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars, their goal this election is to literally gut the entire government of Democrats. Every civil servant that is a Democrat, they will have a litmus test and they will fire you. And they have people on the Supreme Court like Samuel Alito, who flies his American flag upside down. You saw the insane things he said. I'm going to tell you, this is my personal assessment of this. Okay, the man is exceedingly intelligent. He is very well educated. Don't underestimate him. He is not stupid. He is very capable. He used to run the Texas Public Policy Foundation here in Texas. It's one of those institutes I told you about, those billionaire-funded institutes, those nonprofits that are guiding policy. He used to run one here in Texas. They're very effective. They understand that Rome is the mob, that your average person out there isn't paying attention to politics. Yeah, Susan, he is dangerous. He's dangerous. He's very dangerous. They're telling you to your face. And just let me finish his background a little bit. He's founded a Catholic school in Louisiana called the John Paul the Great Academy. Then he went on to be the president of Wyoming Catholic College. He is a religious zealot. He is a religious extremist. And in my personal opinion, he is insane. I believe he is insane. I believe he is sincere when he believes there's some magical voter fraud out there that gives him moral, it opens the gate for him to be immoral himself. He cannot prove there's fraud, but it has to be because he's insane. And he has the funding of just billionaires lined up behind him. And they think they can control Trump. That is the scariest, most dangerous part about it. Matthew Preble, who are the detention centers for again? Yeah. He says, oh, well, not your dad, of course. I don't have anything against your dad, except for the fact that he, qualifies under everything I said of people that I'm going to first run out of the government. What do you think happens next? Exactly. We wouldn't let a jihadist cell do what he does. We wouldn't. But because he's Catholic, he feels he has a right to. I do believe he is insane. That is my personal assessment and watching him and the things he believes. He believes that we're killing babies after they're born. Yes, this is true. Dub Chef, mass deportation would destroy our economy. Every economist out there has taken a look at their policies that they're recommending, and they said we will be in a depression immediately. Between the insane tax have you heard Trump's insane tax proposal? He's promised the mob. Promise the mob. Give them blood in the sand, man. Promise the mob. He's going to take everybody's taxes away. Did you hear that? Yeah. He's going to fund the government by putting tariffs on everything we import. That's his tax plan. I'm not kidding. Eliminate all taxes, so him and his billionaire buddies never pay another dime in taxes again, and then fund the government through tariffs. Well, pardon me, but can one of y'all answer who pays the tariffs on goods coming into our country? John Edinger, hi, Paul. Glad to see you back. Thanks for getting me angry about the assholes at the Heritage Foundation. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for supporting the show. Without you, we can't do it. We do. That's correct. We do. We do. That is their plan, is to take every bit of the burden of our government and put it on your back. Because every good you buy that's imported, which by the way is a lot these days, will be taxed. And that's how they will collect their taxes. No more billionaire taxes, no more corporate taxes, no more rich people paying any taxes at all. It's all going to be on your back. 100%. And it will absolutely destroy our economy. Overnight, it'll destroy our economy. So, folks, I saw this interview, and I invite you, please go back, go to MSNBC, find this interview. It is an outstanding interview. Watch it in its entirety. It's under 15 minutes long. It is a great interview. It really is. It is an outstanding interview. Folks, the 2025 Project 2025 is dangerous. It is dangerous. They're telling you in the open, we're going to just gut the entire government. We're going to put into place goose steppers with fealty to the next president. Folks, that always ends up in death. Because assume for a second that they succeed. What happens after they succeed? They still need a boogeyman. They will always need a boogeyman because that's all they do. The shiny object for the mob. They will need a new shiny object. And they will already be be abusing people and forcing them to flee the country. And they're telling you. I mean, this is not me. I'm not making this shit up. He just told you. Maud Day says, there are more of us. Stay stronger together. Keep fighting. Thank you, Maud. That's where I was actually going with this. They're telling you to your face. This election is a survival election. It just is. So yeah, I need you people to go get those people out there that are not paying attention. That don't. I mean, there's just always a huge, in every government and every country, there are people that are just busy. They're focused on their knife making business, or they're focused on their hobby, their fishing hobby, or they're focused on the car they're trying to restore. They're focused on a million different things except government. And the folks that are getting involved on the right, as you see, MAGA, are insane. They're radicals. They're people that believe things like comet ping pong. If you don't know what that was, a guy showed up at a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. because he was told that Hillary Clinton was running a child trafficking ring out of the pizza place's basement. So he showed up with an AR-15 to a pizza joint called Comet Ping Pong in Washington, D.C. That is MAGA. They're the people that believe these things like, oh, we're killing babies after they're born. Or there's magic fraud. We're so good at fraud that they can't catch us with unlimited resources. They just can't catch us. We're so good at fraud. 2020, Philip Alapar, I'm telling you, he's a great follow. You should link your page. I'm telling you, he's a great follow. 2025 Project is like a Nazi far-right black book. It is. It is. And the terrifying part is they're saying it out loud. They're saying it out loud. But the good part is, look, all the polling's in our favor. Not the stuff that they pay for on television, the cheap polls. No, I'm talking about the really good, scientific, party-funded, very expensive polling. All shows we're going to kick the shit out of the Republicans in the next election if you vote. If you show up and vote. Yeah, Stoneflower Dragon. Ironically, yeah, Comet Ping Pong didn't even have a basement, much less the insanity that they believed of a child trafficking ring being run out of the basement. Didn't even have a basement. So yeah, you have a job as part of this community. You have a job. New Kid says there's so much crazy, we forget parts of it to our collective peril. Yeah, you have a job. You do. I need you to get those people that I don't follow politics. I'm not political. I don't think. Well, it doesn't matter. Do you like breathing? Do you like living? Because that's what's on the line. Maybe you could be political for one election and we can destroy the Republicans. Because they're telling you they're going to destroy you. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be I don't lie. I don't hide who I am. I am not a high road guy. I am not. They're coming for me. They're coming for Democrats. I'm going to come for them. I am. I think we need to gut the DOJ. I think we need to get rid of Republican judges. They're corrupt. But I'm not just pulling shit out of my ass and saying that. I am showing you what Robert Hur did. I am showing you what we've got a judge down here in Texas that they judge shop for out in frickin' Amarillo, Texas. They bring one of their crazy lawsuits because there's no lawsuit. As long as it's a right-wing fever dream, he will rubber stamp it. So they judge shop for this judge. And I'll do a segment on the show about him. He's insane. There's nothing crazy enough. Veggie Owl Girl, there's a possible pandemic coming on our way. Think about the millions of people dying because we don't have real health officials. Yeah, there is another pandemic coming, folks. There is. There always will be. Viruses just didn't give up on their job. They didn't. We need people that believe in government. So yeah, are you with me? Are you willing to maybe have those uncomfortable conversations with some family? I need you to fund candidates. I need you to fund independent media. I hate when people ask me for money. I hate that shit. I know you hate it too, but we don't have a billionaire frat boy club. We really don't. You know, everybody's making a big deal about oh shit, I'm tongue tied. Short guy, New York, billionaire, ran as a Democrat. I hate when I get brain lock. Just donated $20 million. And everybody's like, oh man, $20 million. No, not Soros. Jesus Christ. Everything's George Soros. Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg donated 20 million bucks. Ah, got it. Yeah. I love you folks. I love that you folks are so damn informed. Bloomberg just donated $20 million. Everybody's like, oh, that's a lot. That's nothing. That's nothing. We had a billionaire give the Heritage Foundation $1.6 billion. So yeah, there's nobody that's going to fight this for us. They're not. We're going to have to do it ourselves. Let's do it. All right. I promised you a deep dive on the Middle East. And as I started putting it together, I realized something very important. I can't do it in one show. So I'm going to have to break it up. And today we're going to talk about Israel. We're going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu and what's going on in Israel. But to understand what's going on in Israel, I need you to be able to make it your own so that you understand what's going on, because you understand how we would react and what we do. On September 10th, 2001, George W. Bush was a vulnerable president. He just came off one of the closest elections in history. Many people believe he did not win Florida. Many people believed he was an illegitimate president. But by law, the way our Constitution is written, due to the sunset provisions in the Constitution, he was our president. Legally, he was our president. But he had no mandate. He's not well-spoken, particularly bright. The Republicans were in deep shit on September 10th, 2001. Then on September 11th, 2001, that changed. He was no longer a vulnerable president. We were horrified as a people, and we unified because we were attacked. Overnight, they ran a commercial saying that the terrorists changed us. I don't know if you remember the commercial that says the terrorists changed us, and it was a picture of a neighborhood, and then they faded it out, and then they faded it back in, and that neighborhood, every house had a flag on the front, an American flag on the front. We were no longer divided. We had been attacked. We were one people. And George Bush was no longer vulnerable. And then he invaded Iraq, who had nothing to do with 9/11. When the World Trade Center fell, it fell on 1 million Iraqis. That's all the terrorists did. They killed 1 million Iraqis. That's how many Iraqi civilians died. And they had nothing to do with 9/11. Nothing. But you can understand what happened there. You lived through it. You remember what happened. On October 6th, 2023, Benjamin Netanyahu was a vulnerable prime minister. He was in deep political trouble. He just come off a profit sharing, he's in a power sharing agreement. He was in deep, deep trouble. On October 7th, that changed. That changed. That's all the terrorists did. That's all Hamas managed to do. Just like with George W. Bush and everything horrible that came out of that, Hamas did the exact same thing in Israel. What I want to discuss, and we're going to have to do it in segments. Barb Haynes says, standing with you from Canada. We're going to have to do it in segments because the region is complex. If it wasn't complex, it would be an easy fix. It's complex. So what I want to discuss today is Israel and the people of Israel and the politics in Israel and what we're looking at. We'll understand that. Then we will talk about Syria. We'll talk about Iran. We'll talk about Saudi Arabia. We'll talk about the United Arab Emirates, and we will talk about Palestine. But today we talk about Israel. And because I want you to understand the internal politics. After they were attacked, Benny Gantz, this is Benny Gantz, joined with Benjamin Netanyahu. Benny Gantz is Benjamin Netanyahu's greatest opposition. He is the most likely person to unseat Benjamin Netanyahu. Benny Gantz is not, so that you understand the type of politics we're talking about here, Benny Gantz is not a left-winger. He is not. He is right of center. He is conservative. He is just not insane. He is not a Benjamin Netanyahu. And we're going to get into all of it right now. I just need you to understand, we're not talking about the political left here in Israel. We're talking about from the center over. Benny Gantz is the person that stands the greatest chance of unseating Benjamin Netanyahu. But after October 7th, he was forced to join Netanyahu's government. Benny Gantz is the head of the Unity Party. He joined Benjamin Netanyahu's war cabinet. ET, thank you. Are you mad enough? It is less than 20 weeks until the general election. Make sure your voter registration is deadline. Absolutely, buddy. Check your documents. Check them early. Check them often. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you putting that word out every show. I appreciate you. I'll show it every time. So after October 7th, you can understand the environment in Israel was very similar to the environment here in the United States after September 11th. They had been attacked. Even the folks on the left were in unity with folks on the right. They had been attacked. What is happening now is you're seeing Benjamin Netanyahu pander to the far right. These are the elements that are influencing Israeli policy right now, today. They're going to go into an election in 2026. If that election was held today, Benny Gantz would pick up the majority. He would be the prime minister. He would. And it's because of what Benjamin Netanyahu does. Thanks for the support, Peter. I really appreciate you, man. It is what Benjamin Netanyahu does to hold on to power. The seat of government in their parliamentary government in Israel. Netanyahu's the prime minister. Again, this is Benny Gantz. He's a retired general. And I just need you to understand, he is not. He's a former Israeli general from the IDF. There's a long tradition of that in Israel, Ehud Barak, etc. Moving on to become prime minister. He is not a leftist, but he is not insane. He understands that he has to get along with the Palestinian people. He's not a madman. Netanyahu, on the other hand, I do believe is insane. I do believe he is not mentally stable. I don't. I believe that he is such a political animal that he's willing to do things to stave off the far right. Let me give you an idea. This is Naftali Bennett. He is the person running to the right of Benjamin Netanyahu. He was former prime minister. He left the government. He went into private business. He is talking about re-entering government. He is talking about running in the 2026 elections. He is to the right of Benjamin Netanyahu. He is an ultra-nationalist. Now, keep in mind, we're going to talk about the Israeli people and where the Israeli people are. Because you can't have these discussions without talking about how people are going to vote. So right now, the situation on the ground is this. They have been attacked. You have people that lurch together. You have people that are not anti-Arab. There are Arabs that live in Israel, folks. There are Arabs there's an Arab on the Supreme Court. There are Arabs in the Knesset. There are Arab political parties in Israel. It is not a country made up of insane people. But there are insane people in Netanyahu's government right now. This is Itamar Ben-Gvir. And I want you to understand why Netanyahu does what he does. Why he is such a bad person and has to go. This is Itamar Ben-Gvir. As you can see, he is no fainting daisy. This is the guy on the right. He runs the Otzma party. This guy, he's got a portrait in his living room of this guy. I want you to see. Just a second. Someone got just handed a note. So Itamar Ben-Gvir, let's give you an idea who he is. He's the minister of security in Israel. He has a portrait. He's the guy that he threatened Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin on national television, and then a couple of days later, Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated by Israeli terrorists. I mean, they're just, he He has a picture of this guy in his living room to give you an idea. This is Baruch Goldstein. Baruch Goldstein walked into a mosque, the Abrahami Mosque in Israel, and opened fire with an assault rifle. Just mowed people down. He's a terrorist. His movement, the Khan movement, is considered is a terrorist organization according to our own government. And Itamar Ben-Gvir has a portrait of him in his living room. That is the kind of guy he is. He is part of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government. And ironically, he's Kurdish. He's Kurdish. And you typically don't see radicals coming out of the Kurdish people like that. You just don't. But he's insane. I keep using that word today, but he is. He's nuts. He is ultra nationalist, literally aligned with terrorists. And he has threatened Benjamin Netanyahu that there will be no peace with the Palestinian people. Yes, he's Kurdish. He's Jewish, but he's Kurdish. He has threatened. This is what Netanyahu is facing on the right. This is his coalition. Netanyahu has a very, very slim majority in the Knesset. He's holding on to power by the skin of his teeth. And it is these people that he has to pander to keep his coalition together, because Itamar Ben-Gvir will burn it all down. And he is not the worst of the bunch. He really isn't. This is Bezalel Smotrich. He's the Minister of Finance. I told you, they're all part of Netanyahu's government. He's the Minister of Finance. He is also an ultra nationalist. He wants Israel to take over the West Bank, period. He wants to run all Palestinians out. His political party actually believes in this stuff. It's insane. Like Itamar Ben-Gvir, you get people that talk about this, that say, oh, that talk about Zionism. They talk about Zionism. That don't know what Zionism is. They're just idiots. What they're actually talking about is something called Zionism, which is horrific. It is Israel is for Jews and Jews only, and everyone needs to be run out. Only Jews. That's it. A religious state with only Jews. That is not what Zionism is, folks. It isn't. That's Zionism. And anytime you have any of these radicals that are saying stupid shit, explain to you that are talking about, oh, you're a Zionist. Okay, explain what Zionism is to me. They explain Zionism, which is a real thing, really in the Israeli government. It is terrorism. It is. What Smotrich did is, after October 7th, he was looking for an excuse. So after October 7th, Israel collects taxes for the Palestinian Authority. Mahmoud Abbas is the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. They just cut off the taxes. He's the finance minister. He just stopped giving them their own money. They feed their people with that money. They keep the lights on, water, everything. It is a blatant attempt to push the Palestinians out of the West Bank, to annex the West Bank. That is what Smotrich wants to do. That is real. That is really happening. President Biden, much to his credit, you saw the stupid video that Netanyahu put out about, I can't believe you're holding up our weapons. Let me tell you where that comes from. President Biden had a phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he told him, you deal with Smotrich. You give the Palestinians their money. We are not going to starve these people. We will work through things politically, but we are not going to starve these people. You give them their damn money. You deal with Smotrich. Netanyahu tried to give him pushback, and this is a quote. President Biden told him, this conversation is over, and hung up the phone. What did Netanyahu and Smotrich do in response? Smotrich, over the last few days, has ended IDF. He's also a minister in the IDF, or overseeing the IDF. Ended IDF control of the West Bank, which, hey, sounds like a good thing, right? No, it's not. The IDF is not what the Palestinians portray it to be. It is not. It is the IDF that came out and said, Netanyahu is insane. You cannot defeat Hamas. Hamas is an idea. We need to stop doing what we're doing, and we need to start working on a plan for tomorrow. The IDF, generals from the IDF came out and said that. Netanyahu is losing his mind over that. So what did Smotrich do? He took the IDF out of control of the West Bank and turned it over to civilian settlers to administer the West Bank. What do you think is going to happen there? You have this right-wing faction that is the only way that Netanyahu holds on to power. And they are everything that the Palestinians accuse Israel of being. That is real, folks. You know me. I support Israel. I want to see Benny Gantz as the next prime minister because he can win. And he is not insane. But when I tell you things and I get it right, it's because I understand the reality on the ground of what's going on with the Jewish people in Israel. And again, we're only talking about Israel. We're not talking about the whole situation. We're just talking about the political situation in Israel. Let's bring that home to us. You have the Republicans attempting to attack Joe Biden for holding weapons. Well, why did Joe Biden do it? Israel has been a staunch ally. Our best ally in the region. Why did he withhold the weapons? It was a shot across the bow. It was to open up an avenue for Benny Gantz, because Benny Gantz has not been able to speak out. His statements have been very muddled. Because again, it's post October 7th. It's like a politician speaking out against the Iraq war immediately after 9/11. That took time. So what President Biden is doing is he's giving cover for Benny Gantz. He is saying, you will have a political solution to this. You will end the insanity of your attacks with no plan. You are not going to run the Palestinians out of the West Bank. You are not going to run the Palestinians out of Gaza. You will develop a plan for the future, and we will start talking about autonomy for the Palestinian people, which drives folks like Itamar Ben-Gvir insane. They're threatening to burn the entire government down. The next election is supposed to be in October 2026. They're threatening to force snap elections and drive people to the polls who are still very much upset and hurt. And they're seeing their people held hostage and raped. And they are reacting like people do. They are people that are not political. They're people that are not involved, just like we have here. But as you can imagine, the mob is being shown all of these horrific things. So I want you to understand the political landscape in Israel as we speak. The people, there is a left wing in Israel. There is. There are people that want a peaceful future, and they want the Palestinians to have autonomy. They want them to have their own nation. But right now they're being drowned out because this is still very raw for them. Just like bin Laden and the terrorists did nothing to further their cause when they attacked us on September 11, 2001, all they did was kill 1 million Iraqis. I say this over and over again, when the Twin Towers fell, they fell on 1 million Iraqis. Hamas did the same thing on October 7th, 2023. They destroyed Gaza. They absolutely destroyed Gaza. And they empowered the worst in the Israeli government. And it will take time. And that is what Joe Biden is doing. That is what he is doing. He is opening up a lane for Benny Gantz to say, hey, you know what? This brutality is affecting our relationship with America. Joe Biden's going to be the next president for 4 years. The sentiment is turning against us. He is taking the political hits, and the Republicans, who are always on the same side as the terrorists and the Russians, are attacking him for it. They're inviting Benjamin Netanyahu to speak before Congress. I wanted you to understand, before Benjamin Netanyahu came here and spoke, what his coalition looks like, what his ministers look like, his minister of finance, the security minister. I need you to understand what he is doing on the ground in Israel to hold on to power. And that's why I say he's insane. He is insane. These people are dying. War is brutal. It is hell. But no, the Israeli people are not bad. They are not. And with our help, with Joe Biden's adept understanding of foreign policy, he is wrecking the far right in Israel. He is. He's forcing their hand. And that is the Israeli part of the equation. We'll talk more about other portions. I've always said this, there is no two-state solution. There just is no two-state solution, because both states want the same land. That doesn't work. The Palestinian homeland has to be somewhere other than Israel. And that's going to involve all of the other nations in the region. It just does. And they've got their own challenges. This is Mahmoud Abbas and his family. Mahmoud Abbas, the guy here on the left, wants to retire. And I'll just cliff those. I don't want to get into the Palestinian portion of it. I want to do them last because there's an extreme sensitivity. I can tell you all day long that you have Israelis supporting the hard right in Israel because of the attacks on October 7th, and nobody loses their mind. Nobody. But if I tell you that you have Palestinians that are absolutely supporting Hamas, oh my God, I've just done something horrible. You can't say that. The Palestinian people aren't Hamas. Yes, they are. They just are. And we will talk about the Palestinians. They have their own challenges. Mahmoud Abbas here, he did the exact same thing that his predecessor Yasser Arafat did. Yasser Arafat made himself the gateway for all of the money going into the PLO and the Palestinian government at the time. All of the countries in the world that wanted to send money to the Palestinian people had to write a check to Yasser Arafat, and Yasser Arafat, in turn, wrote all the checks to the Palestinian people, and he kept billions for himself. He died a billionaire. They still can't find all the money. He hid it in different accounts that he's dead. No one knows where the money is. They can't find it all. Mahmoud Abbas has a very similar situation. Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome, Michael Thomas. You're welcome. It's what I do, man. Thank you for allowing me to do it. I mean, I'm really, folks, the support is what lets me do this full time as a job. The devil, the evil theocrats on both sides, and that's what we're going to talk about. The good and the bad, and we're going to show the warts, and we're going to show the good things on both sides. Benny Gantz is a good thing. He is. He is a conservative. He's more conservative than I like, but as far as Israeli politics go, he's pretty damn good. He's not insane. He doesn't want to kill every Arab out there. He wants Arabs to be part of the Israeli government. He wants, there is brightness going forward. And Joe Biden is working towards that. But you have situations that really have to be dealt with, where I'm going with this picture right here. And let me take it down. I want you to look at the suns, the back row, the suns. Mahmoud Abbas does the exact same thing that Yasser Arafat did. If anything gets done in the West Bank, it is done by a corporation called the Falcon Group. Who's the Falcon Group? Mahmoud Abbas's sons. I'm talking roads, power, water, shipping, anything that is done in the West Bank is done by the Falcon Group. And they are sucking billions out of the Palestinian people. And the reason he hasn't retired is he is trying to prevent from happening to his children what happened to Yasser Arafat's wife and daughter. They wanted their money back. And they've been hounding Yasser Arafat's wife to try to find the money ever since Yasser Arafat died. Mahmoud Abbas is trying to broker a deal that allows his family to walk away with the money. That's the kind of corruption that is the least insane part of the Palestinian government. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. And I just want to leave you with something positive. Here. Peter Campbell, this is exactly why some really love the poorly educated and why we're so blessed to have Texas Paul in our educational environment. Hey, I love talking to you people because you actually want to know what the hell's going on. I want to leave you with a bright thought. I want to leave you with an understanding that the Middle East is going through a change. I've been right with every prediction. Everybody, remember the World War III? Republicans were all like, oh, World War III starting on Joe Biden's watch. Remember that nonsense just a little while ago? After October 7th. I mean, that was what they said. World War III, it's going to be starting in the Middle East. We always said it would. Exactly, Sharon Reddy. Chaos is the opportunity for evil. Yeah. And I said, no, it's not. Why? Because I understand what's going on in the region. I pay attention to what's going on in the region. I understand the politics of the region and what is happening. And this is the bright spot that I want to leave you with. I just watched a commercial for the United Arab Emirates. I watch British media. I do. If you want real news, go to Britain. They have much better news. They don't do the whole Murdoch thing. Murdoch is considered a freaking nut. You've got decent media in Britain. I watch a lot of it. Up on the screen pops up a commercial. It's a woman in the United Arab Emirates. It's a commercial to get people to migrate from the UK to the United Arab Emirates and extolling all the virtues of the United Arab Emirates because they need people. They need professionals. And it was a very bright, uplifting, positive. It was really great, well done commercial. I want you to think about that, folks. That is, and the UAE, they are a huge power broker in the region. The Saudis also, they don't want this radicalism anymore. They had to deal with the Houthis. They're done with this radicalism. They're signing an agreement with Israel that acknowledges Israel's right to exist and moving forward. Syria, and I'm just cliff noting this. We will do it in depth for each one of these regions and areas. Syria is history. It's no longer a nation. It's broken up into regions. Us and the Kurds control the east. Hezbollah and the radicals control the west. The central part of the country is, you've got Bashar al-Assad barely holding on by the skin of his teeth. He will be deposed in the next year or two. Bashar al-Assad is gone. Russia is collapsing. They have been all that props up Assad. Syria is a non-player in the field. All you have is Iran trying to create chaos in the region, and they're failing miserably. They're failed with the Houthis. All they've managed to do is unite the world against them. So yeah, we are seeing from the Middle East, originating in the Middle East, an non-astroturf, a real seeded, growing movement within the Middle East to move beyond the radicalism, to move beyond the religious zealotry, to move beyond the insanity. To have peace. That's really happening, folks. And right now, our part is ending the radical right in the Israeli government, cleaning up our own backyard, as it were. And that's what I wanted to leave you with. And that's what I wanted to explain about Israel, what's going on, the tit for tat, why the speech here with Netanyahu. The Republicans are so hard stuck to him, why Trump is so hard stuck to him, what his political reality is, just how weak he actually is. Polling shows if the election in Israel was held today, Benny Gantz would pick up 75 out of 120 seats. His coalition would be one of the largest ruling coalitions in Israel in probably the last 40 or 50 years. So yeah, vote. This opportunity is right here in front of you. You have Russia as a terrorist state collapsing. Vote. That's all you have to do, and it happens. You have the Middle East solving itself, moving towards peace and prosperity itself. All you have to do is vote. Keep a madman out of our government. Keep people, like Kevin Roberts. Kevin Roberts is a big deal, folks. He makes the policy. You get these, you see it, these Republicans, all they do is talk. Just talking points. Those talking points and policy points come out of Kevin Roberts. And he is a religious zealot and a madman. He is the identical to what is going on in Israel. It's the same speech. Itamar Ben-Gvir and Kevin Roberts, if you just drew a line through, a black marker and covered up who they're talking about, say the exact same things about immigration. And the others. It's Putin's weaponization of immigration. They both do it. And they're both insane. So just vote. We have the numbers. But what I need you to do, and I'm going to end it with this, and I'm going to ask you, please, pretty please. I don't like when people ask me for money. I don't. But there's nobody else to fund this. Support Democratic candidates. Find a way. I don't care if it's just $5. Like John Tester keeps asking people for $3. Colin Allred keeps asking people for $3. You know why? Do you know why they ask you for $3? Because once you make the donation, you're on the list, and they'll send you another email and send you another email and send you another email. And eventually you'll get one of the emails and say, you know what? I can send them a 20. Because they don't have the billionaire backers. I mean, for God's sake, Bloomberg spent $20 million. $20 million. You have their billionaire frat boy clubs dumping billions behind the Republicans, trying to end our democracy. It's up to you, folks. Please. Thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for supporting Democratic candidates. But more importantly, the most important thing is you have to remember, Rome is the mob. Show people the Project 2025. Show them that fascism on the march. That will wake up people who are not political. You will control the mob if you just show them what the Republicans are saying, what they're doing, their allegiances to Putin, their immigration warfare. If you just show them out of their own mouths saying that they want to gut our own government, to drive every Democratic employee. If you donated to the Democratic Party, we're going to fire you and run you out of our government. Show them. Because that's the shiny object that will get their attention. Everybody understands fascism. Everybody. And they'll think it's hyperbole. They'll think you're being over the top. Then show them their words. And we will demolish the Republican Party. We will end the Republican Party with this election. They're shooting their shot. They know they're losing. So they're shooting their last shot. Make it their last shot. I love you, folks. This is Old Texas Paul out. Thank you again for the support. Go to realtexaspaul.com, my website. Take a look at the mugs. We've got some tumblers coming out. Support us if you can. I appreciate you. You are the reason that I can do this show full time. You pay me. You pay me to be here. Thank you. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.